We are here at the top, 1 minute past the top of the half hour. And folks, it is so good to
Ah,
be here with you. Jim, how you doing?
I am fantastic, ready to rock this.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Man, speaking of rock, let me kick us off with a little personal note. Hello, everybody, by the way. I'm Matt Vosburgh with the MVP Creative Solutions, and I'm an admin here and also a business coach. I help business owners get out of the chaos of their everyday operation and back to a life they dream of. So that's what I do. But I'm here with Jim Small of Billion Dollar Coach and Sante Realty. I'll let Jim introduce himself, but first, Jim, I'm gonna throw in a little. We're talking about rock. You said rock and roll. Can't help but mention I went to a concert, a music festival with my daughter last week. Kind of a big alternative music, alternative rock music festival. Not too loud, right?
Mhm.
I'm getting old. Still got a little punk rock here though. But but her favorite band was playing, and we pushed our way up to the front, as a good dad should. And we happened to be right there when the lead singer and lead guitarist came down off the stage and was mingling with the crowd and signing autographs and taking pictures. And so she got autographs and pictures with both of them. And she started playing guitar last year, so she got to chat with
Wow,
the guitarist a little bit about his cool gear and what kind of guitar she has. So
nice.
anyway, we are rock and roll, Jim. I
It's
mean,
true.
no matter what
I'm,
the gray hairs may say, it's
yes, I might be more the role. You can be the rock.
there we go, like Hall and Oates or Simon and Garfunkel.
Old school
Perfect.
stuff.
All right. I've driven that into the ground. Okay. Well, Jim, um, yeah, so for the folks who aren't familiar with what you do, because you do such amazing things in so many different areas of commercial real estate and investing, all of those things together. Man, and what you're doing with AI and managing deals and connecting with people to enrich these deals. Man, it's incredible. So I just want to tell everyone, hang on to your hats. But no further ado, yeah, Jim, tell the folks what you're all about.
Yeah, happy to share. Thanks, Matt. The cheat code is that I use a lot of AI, and so I can get a lot more done in just a crazy amount of time. Literally daily, I'm surprised at the efficiency and speed and yet quality of what myself and my team, more importantly, can produce with AI. So I thought we'd take some of my knowledge as a real estate broker for the last 25 years, some of my experience as a syndicator and investor and now fund manager, and really take some of that and say, well, how can we leverage the technology as individuals, whether we're a listing broker or we're an investor or we're a lender, how can we utilize some of this technology easily? And that's what I want to demo today by helping everyone create their own digital twin for whatever specialty they have. By the end of this call, they'll be able to literally replicate themselves as a digital twin for their team to use and free up some of their time.
Wow. So, I mean, we've said this for years and years. I just need a clone of myself, right? Um, and this is not the DNA engineering that that we envisioned over all the sci-fi fantasies, but it's here, and these things are incredibly powerful and only getting more powerful every day. Staying on top of all this stuff it's probably feeling daunting to somebody who's not, diving into it every day. But at the same time, you don't have to be hardcore diving into it every day to really be able to, leverage the power of it. So, Jim, you're gonna like get us focused in on the things, the tools and really the tactics and how it all rolls up to the strategy of how you do things. Um, that is going to make it a lot easier for folks, a lot simpler, and give you a clear path to do this, so you can finally have your clone.
Exactly. And I will say that I've demonstrated this a couple times. We first created one for me maybe a year or so ago. And in my real estate investment firm, a lot of people wanted to ask me questions, either get clarification, get historical knowledge, get some context. And it was always, hey, Jim, you got a sec? You got a minute? Do you have 5 seconds? Do you have? And I would feel guilty that I didn't always have the time. And yet I know these well-intentioned team members wanted input from me. And so we created a that I call the Jim bot. We'll show it in a minute. Um, and shockingly, with very basic inputs, which I'll demonstrate again in a minute, my team came back and said, hey, we got about 80% of the answers we needed without literally needing Jim the human. So Jimbot is fine for about 80% of what we needed. We'll schedule calls with you or ask in our weekly meetings the rest. But they were able to move much, much faster. And I wasn't the bottleneck anymore. So not only did I free up my time, I also helped my team accelerate going forward from what they tell me about 80% of the time.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and there are inevitably many things that you're doing, right? In your day-to-day, the manual, tedious, time-consuming things that require your special touch. Uh, you know, you're going to be just guaranteed going to be amazed once you start to dive in and really understand, where you can leverage, where you can take the things off of your plate that you really shouldn't be doing. And this is, not just for the real estate world, right? I mean, this is running a business 101 is how do you prioritize? How do you delegate, delete, defer, right? Get all
All of
all
that.
the all the things. But yeah, nice, nice. Well, let's jump in, man. And
Great.
I've had a lot of fun kind of pressure testing a lot of these tools as well. In fact, I had an event in Gilbert yesterday, and we had somebody come in and share about a voice AI an AI voice agent
Cool.
tool, and we played with it live, and I got to be a little belligerent with it and really pressure test that thing. So
You're not alone.
yeah, maybe we can
Our
do a little of that today too.
our AI agents get belligerent tested as well. So we use those. Why don't I jump in? I'll share the screen and show you how to do this. If you're watching this live or recorded, you should be able to follow along directly with us. And so feel free to slow me down, Matt. We'll build the whole digital twin of Jim and let other people see how to do it live. So hopefully you can see my Chat GPT window.
Yes, we can. And yeah, to that, folks, if you have questions, put them in the chat, put them in the comments. I'll go ahead and plug those in as we move along here. And of course, anything we don't get to on the call here live, we'll definitely be following up with everybody with little FAQ and all that good stuff. So, all right, yeah, Jimbot, see
So
what see what
I'll
you got.
start with the end in mind. So this is what we're going to build. I'm going to take us step by step, literally starting from a blank canvas and have you build your own digital twin. And you don't have to be the founder of your company or CEO. What we actually see is these digital twins are working really well at the team level. So we've got our controller that created a digital twin, and they have accounts payable and accounts receivable clerks and specialists ask it questions. So regardless of where you're at and maybe where some of your team members are at on the team, I would highly encourage them to create a digital twin and let that interact. What we see happening in 2026 is these digital twins will essentially be joining Zoom calls and Teams calls and Google Meet calls, taking notes and helping the organization move faster and retain all of that knowledge and information. So the sooner your team members are using their digital twins, the better. And there are many examples of platforms you can do this in, things like HeyGen, Delphi. I'm going to show you the easiest, cheapest, simplest way to do it today using ChatGPT. And so when I created Gymbot, you'll see it on the screen here. It has some starter questions. I can share Gymbot with anyone. It can literally be in the GPT store of ChatGPT, which I don't normally recommend, but I could literally share it with the globe. I could also keep it personally for myself. Sometimes I do that when I first create a digital twin and want to test it by asking questions and seeing how it answers. And then the middle road is to share it with a group that you invite. And so you'll get a link at the end of building your digital twin, and I'll share it with Matt here in the chat and let him kind of test it. I mean, I don't know how belligerent we need to be, but we'll let Matt test it regardless. And so at the end, you'll get a chat bot just like this, and you'll get to name it yourself, put your own photo, pick what model it uses, have starter questions, and then even be able to upload files and images to it to ask things, which would be great if you have an offering memorandum or you have listing photos, etc. So this is where we're headed. And now what I want to show is how to create them. And so in ChatGPT, I have the $20 a month program I'm showing you, or the plan. And so if you have something different, I have noticed in the past, if you've got the deluxe enterprise version, you have a few different features, different things to click on. I'm not going to be showing that because from my experience, most people, vast majority, don't need a enterprise solution for ChatGPT, but spending the 20 bucks a month is a incredible high return on investment. So where you start in ChatGPT is you click on the left under a section called GPTs. There's a there's a link, I guess I'd call it, called Explore GPTs. And this is where you can see the GPT store, kind of like an app store, of everyone in the world that's created their own GPTs and even ones that are trending. So there's a Scholar GPT that's really kind of focused on more academic things. You've got different GPTs by category. There's one over here on the right that's a fitness GPT, and ones that ChatGPT are promoting in the middle. And so this is where if you wanted to share them, your GPT would be available, or what I call the digital twin. Again, I don't recommend it, but there is some talk in the future of how you could monetize your own digital twin because it's just like a digital employee. And so there's some possibility that in the future, this might be a way to monetize your knowledge. So for now, just to create this as an internal resource for your colleagues, I want to go in here and I'm going to use this top right button to click create. And that's going to be where I start to create my digital twin. So I'll click that and the screen will load with essentially a blank canvas, bunch of fields that are empty, nothing pre-displaying on the right over here, just blank. And on the left, you'll see a create tab and you'll see a configure tab. We're going to spend most of our time in this configure tab, but because I don't know what to type in here, just like if I were creating a prompt, I want to start by asking AI to help me. And so I'm going to use another window of ChatGPT to help me create the inputs for these various fields. And so you can type them in. My experience is if you use an AI tool, LLM, like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, DeepSeek, any of those to give you inputs, that's usually better than any of us individually on our own thinking of what we would come to mind to put in here. So I'm going to always advocate to use an LLM. And when we use an LLM, we want to kind of tell it who it should be. If you've heard other recordings Matt and I have done, one of the biggest flaws in using LLMs is to just ask it a question like you would in the old days of Google. Because the LLMs have all human knowledge ever recorded, written, videoed, audio, photos, all that's in there. If you just ask it a question, it's literally like asking it to find a needle in a haystack. And so instead of asking it a specific question about one particular area while it knows everything in the entire human history that's recorded, we want to focus it on its particular persona. And so what I'm going to say at first is, and I'm going to do this voice wise. We've tried this before, and sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm going to try because the keyboard's less and less important, at least in the beginning of 2026 when we're recording this. And so I'll jump into the voice version of this to dictate what I want in here, just to demonstrate it, because on my own, that's really how I interact with AI today. You are the expert in creating digital twins of CEOs, founders, and executives, particularly in real estate firms, so that team members can use the resulting digital twin as a custom GPT to be more effective and accelerate solutions to business problems, particularly around the real estate field. And so now that I put that in there, that's just going to give it its persona. I'm going to go ahead and load that into there because what it's going to do is imagine the entire history of humanity in a big database, and I'm going to shrink it really fast to just be an expert in creating digital twins in the real estate field. And so when I click that, all it's doing is essentially focusing its knowledge. And so it says, okay, I'm going to be that persona. I don't really mind what it puts in here. I just wanted it to focus. And it can ask me some clarifying questions and get there. And sometimes I'll answer these by just, and I'll show it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the answer is A. My digital twin is primarily built to reduce internal interruptions to the CEO, but I'm also wanting it to um, D, improve team strategic alignment. And so as I load that, it's further focusing or laser focusing on what the goal is. This is a little bit around the context of where I want the persona to be. And so as it gives me feedback, I'm just verifying that, yep, that makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of what I want to do. And if this output that it's giving me after I picked A and D is wrong, I'll just type in the window or the chat field, nope, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean A and D. I meant something else. And it can then update essentially its working memory of where it's focusing. And I'll answer maybe one or two more questions just to get a pretty good focus. So in the second question, it's asking me, when your team asks questions, what frustrates me as the digital twin creator? And I'm going to say that what frustrates me, I don't know, all of the above is kind of the easy way out, but let's be more specific. I'm going to say that it's probably D and maybe A. And so that just helps the ChatGPT tool create a more precise input for my digital twin. And so if this resonates, then I say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm okay. I'm going to answer one last question here and we'll move on to building the inputs. So what I'm going to say is for question 3, when the CEO makes a decision, what's most true? What do I do? And so I'm just using this for myself. Of course, you'd want to answer your questions for you as you build your digital twin. In my case, I'm going to say that when I make a decision, I'm really optimizing for B, asymmetric upside. Um, and what that means in investing, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, that means I'm taking the minimum amount of risk for the maximum amount of return. So that might mean I'm taking 1 unit of risk for the potential of a 100 unit return. That can be in things like internal rate of return, multiple on invested capital, cash on cash, some of the metrics we use in commercial real estate investing. And so now what I'm going to do is, okay, it understands that. It's going to keep asking me clarifying questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's create the inputs needed on a field by field basis for a custom GPT in Chat GPT. Ask me clarifying questions in order for you to give each give me each of the field inputs. Let's do this one question at a time. The reason I always say one question at a time, sometimes ChatGPT or other models come back and ask me 20 questions and I can't keep 20 answers straight in my head. So I ask it to do it one at a time. I certainly, if I wasn't on a live demo, we would do this just in voice mode because quite frankly, the keyboard's slower. I tend to demo with the keyboard more just because I have more time to think. But the reality is on my own, I used to use Whisper Flow, WISPR space FLOW, and that would give me just really great talk to text output. It would get rid of my ums and ahs. It would get rid of the buts and ands, and it would just really nail the text. To be frank, I'm finding that most of the voice capabilities from ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok do that without Whisper Flow now. So maybe on the back end they embedded Whisper Flow. I don't know. Whisper Flow is an amazing tool, but just with this dictate feature, it works pretty good. So now let me remind you what we're headed towards. I'm going to flip or toggle back to the other browser. In the other browser, I need these inputs. Like I don't know what instructions to put here. I don't know what knowledge files to upload. I don't know what recommended model to use. I don't know what capabilities to pick. And so I'm going to get ChatGPT to tell me. So as I'm building this digital twin, I need to answer these questions so it can literally give me the information to copy and paste into my digital twin. So it's saying the name is strategic. It affects how it's perceived, how often they use it. Okay, maybe that's true. I guess there's probably some, HR psychology behind this that ChatGPT is using. And so I'm going to say I want to be a thinking partner. Actually, I'm going to go with C. I want it to be my actual digital identity. And so we'll go with C in this case. But as it asks me more questions, I will tell the digital twin how to respond the way I'd like to respond as a CEO myself. And so, Matt, you have any preference of how we name this thing? I guess they say they want it to be engaging. So would you pick A, B, C, or D, or do we need to make it something different?
Man, wow. As creative as I want to be, um, I think I'm gonna keep it kind of vanilla here, actually, with the strategic twin B.
Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
go B, but let's call it Jim S. There we go. There's apparently a lot of Jim Smalls on the internet. I did not know this until I was mistaken for someone else as a professional soccer player, and I am definitely not a professional soccer player. So we'll just keep it Jim S for now. Could be anything. So in the description, now remember, it's giving me all the fields that I need to fill out. So on the description side, who's the primary user? It's asking me. Well, for me, I want it broadly used, but I'm gonna say it's my senior leadership team and it's also our operations team. So regardless of the particular role someone has, I want them to be able to use the digital twin. That might not be the case, particularly if you're a controller that wants your bookkeeping and accounting people to use it, or you're the head of marketing and you want your graphic designer and social media person to use it. You might want to keep it a little more focused, and it would have probably more direct knowledge of those more focused areas. I'm a little bit broader in the seat of CEO, and so that's why I picked those. And then question four, when the leadership or ops uses it, it wants to know, should I give direct answers? Should I challenge them? Should I have primary structured questions or require them to do a recommendation? I'm going to say that it's D because that's how I really do try to act as a CEO to encourage others to solve problems and to think first. Then I want to challenge them. And so that's the way I kind of go about it. In the past, a younger Jim would have just given the answer. And what happened in those cases, I learned as a founder and CEO, people would just come to me for the answer, and I was always giving answers. It's not a great way to be a leader, but I was trying to figure it out when I was younger, and I just didn't know what I didn't know. So that's the case here. So I'll go with those methods, and now it's validating or reflecting what I put in there. So again, if I think it got it wrong, I can correct this even before or while answering the next question. So now it's clarifying the description field. So I want to answer, should this explicitly state that it can't approve capital expenditures or authorize hires and fires? I'm going to say that it probably should explicitly state that anything over 5,000, which might be too high of a threshold for you, it might be too low of a threshold for you. For me, for this demo, I'm going to say that's fine. And I never want it to create legal liability. So I'll pick both of those as kind of the guardrails that I want my digital twin to stay within. I don't want to be financially exposed and I don't want to be liability exposed. We refer to those in the AI world as guardrails. And so that's what I'm going to use. Now, what's kind of cool is I can actually start building this now. So I can see how it says copy this exactly. I can take that over to us configuring the digital twin. I could have done that with the name, but for now, let's just go ahead and copy this. It's as simple as literally copying, going back to my ChatGPT digital twin, and I'm going to put it in the description. And so it's a simple paste. Oh, it says I can only have 300 characters. So let me go back and say to ChatGPT that ChatGPT has a limit. Uh, ChatGPT configure setting only allows 300. Was it characters or words? Characters. It's going to be short. Characters. Please shorten the description to fit that constraint.
It's like a tweet.
I know, right? Short.
That's what we used to call X, kids.
There you go. Back in the day.
Hey, so just
Um,
to just to I mean this is super fast still, right? You're saying before like you're moving a little bit slower than you normally do on this thing. But let me just kind of revisit what we've gone through here, right? So I mean, we're creating a digital twin, your AI clone.
yep.
But this is how you use AI to use AI, right? I mean, essentially, we're using ChatGPT to design the instructions that you're putting in here that are going to, allow you to have this digital twin, this AI twin out there. So uh, this is wow. All right, so we've got some really great foundational instructions and details here, and so you're plugging it in. Wow, one
Yeah.
tweet is
There's the
description, but
description.
instructions are probably going to take you a lot further.
Yeah, agreed. And you'll see on the right side here and where we're creating the digital twin that it's kind of previewing on the right on this display side, previewing as it says. So as I put things in on the left under the configure tab, it's starting to model them over on the right. So in my separate window or separate browser, I'm going to go back to the brainstorming I'm doing to create the inputs so I don't have to create all the inputs to create my digital twin. And so now it says we're going to continue. Let's resume and talk about what should we do. So should the twin, it asked me a question back there, which when someone submits it submits a vague question like what should we do? What do we do? We're going to ask it follow-up questions just like I would in real life. There's no reason not to have my digital twin act as much like me as possible. And so now it's giving us the instructions. So we just saw that that's the, that's the next field we need to fill out in creating our digital twin. And so I'm going to say that I want this one to be intellectually demanding. um, I don't know that intimidating option D is a really good one for your digital twin. You probably don't want to be demanding that way. Uh, but I'll answer a few questions again, having it develop the instructions for my digital twin. And so you can always use these just by picking the letter when it asks you a question, or you can create some other answer that may be more nuanced. And so in my case, I'll answer a few of these and we'll get the output that it's going to create for the instructions, and we'll copy it and paste it back over to the configure tab. So for question 8, it's saying when evaluating decisions, should the twin prioritize downside protection, asymmetric upside, speed, strategic planning, cultural alignment? And then it says pick the dominant filter order. So I'm not just going to pick one because it's asking me for an order. So in this case, I'm going to use the ability that it said A, B, C, D, E, and I'm just going to put them in order. So I'm going to say it's actually for us, it's B, then it's C, then it's A, then it's E, then it's D. So that's the order I'd pick for my firm today. You might pick a different order, obviously, or different items in themselves. And so now when a team member presents a recommendation that's thoughtful, structured, but flawed, what should we do? We want to do B. We want to correct them using the Socratic method and help them discover it. And I don't know that I want to use D, although that's a intriguing one for me, but I really do want to help coach up my team, regardless if they're on operations or the leadership team. So that's why I picked what I picked. The beautiful part at the end of this, Matt, I'm going to show everybody how you can go back and edit your digital twin. As you learn more, I can add more knowledge to it. I can add a different way that it thinks. I can modify the instructions. And so my digital twin can learn and grow just like a human, which is pretty cool. So
I
rounding out,
mean,
go ahead,
everyone's
please.
got, kind of different sides to their personality, right? I mean, this is making it very clear that, um, you can enhance certain characteristics of yourself that you either that you prefer or maybe that favor and benefit, a particular function or role. Uh, but yeah, maybe don't bring party Matt to the business digital twin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need multiple Matt
Party
twins
Matt's
here.
fun though. So it might be fun, but let,
Uh,
let me just show you again the the term I hear a lot today in Q1 quarter one of 2026 is vibe coding. Everyone's vibe coding, and what I find to be hilarious is that's really just a fancy way of saying copy paste. And so right now I'm doing what in front of you what I would call vibe coding or what other people might call vibe coding. The reality is I'm really good at copying and pasting. So I'm going to literally copy these instructions that it created based on the inputs I've been giving this. And now I'm going to take it back over to configure my digital twin. And in the field called instructions, I'm going to paste it. The good news is this time there's no limit that I hit, so that's good. And there's one other thing that's really important that I learned as a input for the instructions, and that's to tell it a little more about who you are. So for me, I like to use my LinkedIn profile, and so I will just click in LinkedIn on my particular profile, and in the URL in the top, it gives you your link. And so I'll literally vibe code it or copy it. And I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my configuration and I'm going to say, use the inputs of Jim's social media as well. And then I'm just going to literally I'm going to paste that. And I'm also going to paste on my company's website. I've got a list of articles I've published and press releases we've done. And so I'm just going to have it reference that when it creates results for my team. And so I'll literally copy that extension. But the beautiful thing is a ChatGPT digital twin can actually read these links. So in this case, if I were to click on a article, when that article loads that I wrote, it'll actually be the input. This text will be the input for my digital twin. And so I'll take that link back and I'll just simply put it there. So if you've got podcast, if you have blogs, if you have articles, you want to put that into the instructions, or you can upload files as knowledge. And so one of the things that I'll do before we add these conversation starters, since I'm on this page, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to upload files. It's as simple as clicking upload files, and there'll be different things. I've got, wherever on your computer or wherever on the internet it may be, you can upload files. I may have something like a CoGP structuring guide, and I'll just use that as an example. And so as I upload that file, last time I checked, you can upload a couple dozen files here. For my real estate investment firm, I might upload our private placement memorandum. I might upload a frequently asked questions. I might upload my resume. I might upload all kinds of things that would be helpful as inputs for my digital twin to use in answering questions and brainstorming with team members. So I highly encourage you to upload as much knowledge as you're comfortable with to make sure that the digital twin is robust as possible. This can be policies and procedures for your company. It can be guidelines for your team. Oftentimes, it's things that you might give a brand new team member about the company. It could be brand guidelines. It could be the history of the company. All kinds of things like that are uploaded to this knowledge base. And what that means is someone's using your digital twin, it's going to know all that information. In addition to looking online at my social media posts and some of my resources I've shared. So this is, you can see already, becoming a very powerful digital twin, depending on what knowledge I give it and how I empower it to work with my colleagues. The other thing before I add conversation starters I want to do is I want to pick what model we want to use. And my experience is that the latest model is probably the best. Sometimes people just need a quick answer, and sometimes it needs to maybe think a little more. I'm not sure how each person will use it, and they're able to change the model as a user. So I'm just going to pick GPT 5.2. And you see over here on the right in the preview, it'll say recommended model by the creators 5.2. If I were to switch to maybe a 5.2 thinking model, it'll say that. And if I was deploying this, let's say to my strategy team, and I wanted to really think in a really deep, meaningful way, I would use a thinking model. On the other hand, if I was just giving this to a leasing consultant at one property that has a very clear set of rules and procedures and whatever, I might just do the instant model. In my case, I'm not sure, so I'll do the general 5.2 latest model. Now, the background of ChatGPT is that it was built, you always hear like, oh, our latest model was built with these billions of tokens and now it's released. Here's the thing I didn't realize when I was first creating a digital twin. ChatGPT 5.2 being the latest model is at least 4 months out of date. It doesn't have the latest stock price. It doesn't have the latest interest, mortgage price rates. It doesn't have the latest weather. It doesn't have the latest news. And so I've got to importantly click on web search, because if I don't click on web search and someone's using my digital twin and asking, what are the ways we should go about an investment based on today's unemployment rates or based on today's interest rates or based on today's vacancy? If I don't click web search, ChatGPT's data is going to be at least 4 months outdated. And so clicking on that web search is very important. If I was using this for other team capabilities like marketing, I'd want to have image generation because it may be able to create some pretty cool graphics for me. Similarly, I might want Canvas if I'm using it for different uses. And if I've got my internal uh, IT team, I might want to use code interpreter and data analysis, even for maybe some of my data analytics. And so I'm going to just keep data analysis on because my operations team is going to use this as we picked earlier. And I'm going to use web search because I need the latest metrics and public data. And so those are really important. Matt, let me pause here and see if you have any questions before I go back and work on conversation starters with ChatGPT, because I'm pretty close to being fully configured here as a digital twin at this point.
No questions right now. Folks, if you got questions, put them in the chat. I'll go ahead and field them here for Jim. But wow, you're cooking here, and man, this is such a. I mean, it's a really clean flow for as much input as is happening here. Yeah, it's surprisingly clean.
Okay, great. Well, let's do some conversation starters. Those are just ways in which your users, because you can just share the link. It could be your team internally, it could be clients, it could be external, it could be vendors, it could be your lender, it could be your investor. You can use your digital twin with anyone you want. I'm doing this one, as we talked about earlier, for my own team internally. And so for conversation starters, I want to be thinking about what might my team ask me. And so it's literally saying, like, what do we want to start on? I'm going to tell it that most people bring me things around deal evaluations and also some operational issues. That's kind of where I get most of my questions day to day, at least. And so it says, okay, uh, we're trying to reduce 80% of CEO interruptions, which is funny because that's what I said earlier. My team told me actually happens. Uh, Hopefully this isn't listening to me in some crazy hidden way, but it's pretty accurate based on what my team says. So it's saying, great, use these exactly. Here's what you can literally use. And so I'm gonna again vibe code this by copying and pasting. That's my vibe coding. And you see on the right in the preview, that conversation starter shows up. So if a team member doesn't know like how it would interact with digital gym, it'll be able to just click this and it'll populate right into the tech prompt, the prompt field. And I'm going to just move all four of these over. You've got to move one at a time, kind of a little bit of a pain, but not the end of the world because vibe coding is pretty simple. And these look good. If I didn't like these conversation starters, I can certainly change them one by one. I could edit them. I could have fewer. I could have more. In my case, I'm okay just to have what it's giving me. And that way it'll let people start. Sometimes they want to start with something that they're not quite sure, but you see now I've got four conversation starters. And so that's what the preview is showing. Now, the other thing that my thought partner, ChatGPT, is asking me, hey, what should we embed there? And it's giving me some pretty good ideas here. Investment memos that we've done in the past, our core values of our company, past investment committee decisions, our fund strategy documents, like operating playbooks. These are all really good. And so if I had more time, I'd literally go take those from our file server and I'd upload them to the knowledge base. I won't do it for now, but this is a great way for us to add more things to the custom GPT.
Hey Jim, something occurs to me as I'm kind of seeing this piece of it here. If someone, I mean, I know that you present this content and this kind of training and workshops to CEOs, executives, and the C-suite, typically, and those are the folks who really need to be in multiple places at once, and so this is wonderful there. But I think very immediately about the folks that work with those executives, right, and especially your admins and your coordinators and people who are really in the weeds of the operations day to day and even at the right hand of executives. I mean, it occurs to me that building these kinds of twins, these kinds of GPTs, is just an outstanding skill for somebody who is already serving an executive and wants to help them to be more effective, more efficient, more flexible, less stressed, probably too.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And we see people, this started as kind of at the top of the organization, but we literally see, you know, individual role contributors creating their own digital twin. And again, we'll start to see those digital twins join calls like on Teams or Zoom or Google Meet. And so no matter who you are, having a digital twin is probably going to become more and more commonplace. um, I can add a photo here, by the way. I won't do it for sake of time, but normally I have like Nano Banana create a photo of like a digital looking gym, and then I would simply upload it. Just kind of keeps it a little more interesting. It would display in the right for time. I won't do that. What I'm gonna just do now is I'm gonna create this. It's got it. I'm not putting any additional settings or creating actions for simplicity. I'm just going to show you what a simple model does, but you can literally then link this to other things, other systems. I feel like that's kind of the next class we can do. For now, I'm just going to, in the top right, click create, and I'm going to get my digital twin. And earlier I said you could put this in the GPT store. Don't recommend it for 99.9% of the population because then it's out there for anyone to use and anyone to uh, maybe manipulate. And I just don't think it's necessary. If I'm testing it, I choose only me. When I'm sharing it with my team, I use anyone with the link. And that's how I am going to share it now. So I click on save. It will now save it in my login. I'll have it always, which is pretty cool. And this is the link. So I'm going to I'm going to view it, but first I'm going to copy this and I'm going to share it in the chat. And so I'm going to put it here. If you're on live, please feel free to test it. Matt, if you want to test it, that's great. But I'm going to just view it here. And here's the digital twin we just created. So I'm gonna use a conversation starter. And if that's the case, let me think. Matt, any particular one you'd pick out of these four?
I have a deal opportunity.
Okay.
What's the rest of that say? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there we go. Like that.
So this is acting as digital Jim, and it's saying, okay, I need you to provide me these things. And so we can then talk about, why is this an asymmetric deal, meaning low risk for high return? What are the downside, you know, protections? And why does this have exponential upside? And then we'd go through this and they would interact with it. So the first thing it's saying is, hey, start giving me this information. Not every piece of information is always immediately available on my team, in my experience, but the more we have, the more digital Jim can interact and give them Jim's thinking. And remember, I told the digital twin, use a Socratic method where I'm asking questions instead of just giving responses, provide recommendations from the user before I give it answers. And I can just have a conversation as if I was in ChatGPT and I'd be going back and forth with this to get an answer as a team member that has access to this digital twin.
Now, if you're using this and in this way right here, like we have in past webinars, the past trainings we've done, where you're going through, you're building the deal, you're doing analysis of the deal, getting the answers to these questions won't take very long because you can use AI to get the answers to the questions and things like what breaks the deal. Those are insights that require a good bit of analysis. Man, AI shortcut
Yep.
in minutes. You're gonna have this on to the next step.
Agreed. Let me show you one last thing, Matt, which is how you'd modify this. And this is a little clunky in ChatGPT from my experience. So it's kind of cool because start using this and you go, well, I want to add more knowledge to it. I want to add a new podcast I did. I want to add a new transcript from an internal meeting, like an investment committee meeting. And the way you modify your own GPTs is you go back to that Explore GPTs button on the left, which is where we started to create a GPT. And now instead of clicking create, we're going to simply click the button next to it that says my GPTs. And when I click on my GPTs, it gives me every GPT I created. The one we just created is the Jim S digital twin. And the little pencil right there, looks like a pencil to me, is what I click on to edit the GPT. And so I can click on that to edit it, and it goes right back to the configure where I can change my conversation starters. I can upload more files. I can change the model. I could change the photo. I could change the name, literally anything I want. I can change here. And then I'll simply click on the far right, update, which will resave the model. And so I can be getting my digital twin smarter and smarter over time as I give it more information and modify it based on feedback. Now, I'm the only one that can modify it, to be really clear. Users like my team that have the link cannot modify it. They can't change anything in it. They can only be a user of it, kind of like a view only access. And then I can reshare that model after I modify it here to other people if I want to.
Coming in here and modifying this, making it better, just reminds me of Steve Austin, the $6 million man.
That's very old school.
We can make him faster. We can make him better.
Um, So that's kind of what I wanted to show today. The digital twin creation is relatively straightforward, particularly when you use ChatGPT or another model to give you the inputs, and then you just share it with your team to start going and be your helpful replicate.
Incredible, incredible. Wow. I mean, to say the future is here is a little cheesy, but also kind of an understatement. Wow, wow. So I see this being used in so many ways, right? I mean, obviously in real estate investing, there's this, pretty cut and dry, if you will, kind of, example or business case, right? But think about the people in your business, all throughout your business, right? Who's managing HR? Who's managing your accounts payable? Who's managing, lease contracts? Things that don't, fall into this kind of deal sort of, world. My gosh, as you're, growing and scaling, the things you're doing in your business, putting the people who really are the arbiters of all the that tribal knowledge and industry knowledge and all of that, man, this is a huge opportunity for you to free those people up to do bigger, better, more impactful things in the business and for themselves. I mean, all of this, it very clearly to me, something that really stands out is that AI is allowing people to do more meaningful work. And so, that shows up in a few ways, right? More valuable work, of course, being more profitable. That's one way that the work is more meaningful. But I think everyone, understands it's like we should be spending time on the things that we love doing that, we're also very productive with.
Yeah.
And this is huge. My gosh, my gosh. Well, so I think next time we're gonna have to. You were saying we're gonna, maybe dive in a little bit deeper and see what, it looks like on some other aspects of using these tools.
Yeah, happy to do that. And I think just getting in, fooling around and figuring it out is kind of the tried and true method with some of this AI. It moves so fast that sometimes we'll record these and then someone goes to try it a few weeks later and they say that button moved or that feature isn't there exactly the same. And so the more you're in with the tools and playing with them, the better. And I just want to double click on what you said, Matt. We're definitely seeing team leaders use these digital twins to help their team continue to move forward faster and without needing that one-on-one human to human meeting or phone call or counsel. And the other way we're seeing these digital twins work really great is when someone's out on vacation or someone's out on a sick day. A lot of the companies still can move forward with, you mentioned accounts payable or someone in marketing. If they're out, but their digital twin is still there, a lot of things that interact with their team members, we're still seeing those move forward. Certainly not as well as the trained and experienced human team member, but this digital team member moves things forward. And so you're not going at the same 100% you would with a human team member, but you're not at zero because someone's out sick or on vacation. And so even if we get to 50% as good with a digital replicant of someone, that means that we can take our holidays. We don't have to be answering emails and phone calls on vacation. And we can also, not stress when we're out sick for a day or two and, managing the flu. So it's just a really great way to free up everyone and take advantage of our knowledge in a asynchronous way.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned vacation. I think about, what about when someone is at work, but they're on vacation, right? The maybe having the digital twin do some of the work instead of them on some of those days might actually be the optimal way to go in some of those cases too. And if somebody's if someone's dealing with maybe there's a crisis, and maybe it's just a really stressful situation or a complex situation or project that requires their full attention. They don't necessarily have to be on vacation or out of the office for you to need, access to them when they're not really available. And, even if they're talking to you, they might be really unavailable.
Distracted, I'd call that.
Yes, yes. Man, wow. Well, yeah, this is awesome, Jen. I'm excited about seeing more of this and digging in myself. I'm playing in AI in some other various ways as we all are. I think it's just wild, wild west and a lot of fun. But folks, if you have questions or you want to chat with Jim or myself, Like I said in the beginning, Jim and I are both coaches. So depending on where you're at and what you're needing and what you're focused on, we can help you in all kinds of areas. So don't think that we're just here to, talk about AI and real estate. We really can help you, with a balanced life and a balanced business and growth, all of those things. But aside from that, we also admin and manage the commercial real estate investing Facebook group, and so we're always in there and watching what's going on, and we more or less do have kind of access and a little management of I'll call it an off-market deal desk, if you will, Jim, right? We've got a lot of amazing people, almost 55,000 people in this group, and connecting people is something we love to do. And so, where there are deals, there are, amazing people wanting to connect with each other. So we love getting to be part of that too. So, hit us up for any of those things. Other than that, we're going to be back here in a couple weeks. Beginning of the month, we're going to do a Facebook Live, so you can jump on here with us for that. We're going to be, kind of dipping our toe in the water, where we'll a couple weeks later, the end of the month, like we're doing right now, just full on cannonball into the deep end, and a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Man, well, Jim, let's wrap it up here. Thank you everyone for being with us. Any final words, Jim?
No, just dig in, play with it, and keep keep learning. That's the key for all of us, I think.
Keep rocking, right?
That too.
Wonderful. All right, folks. Well, thank you all for being here with us. If you're on the recording, thank you for joining the recording. But until next time, everyone, hope you have a fabulous rest of your week and a beautiful weekend. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye for now.